This is exactly what we needed. Is following a crazy 24 hours surrounding Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Mark Shapiro has come out and revealed the shocking truth behind the negotiations behind the scenes with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and their plans to extend him going forward. We're going to break down exactly what he said and discuss what this means, as well as break down multiple new Jays updates as the regular season is 1 week away. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage you aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been absolutely unbelievable. If you want to help us towards our big goal of 20,000 subscribers, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, ton to go over today, and obviously had a video yesterday specifically on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. because he had an interview with a reporter, whoever it was, and he broke down essentially what the exact ask was for his contract, all these different things, and fans are fired up because it continues to be a distraction for the team. Mark Shapiro this morning has come out in a very long interview and dove into some very interesting comments, and let's dive right into it here. We're going to start right away with the hard-hitting one. Mark Shapiro spoke out on Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s contract. He said, "My overarching feeling is that we're going to sign him. We're going to extend him. That is how I feel." Shapiro said the team wants Vladdy to end his career in a Blue Jays uniform. It's about finding the sweet spot in defining risk. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably rolled your eyes, as I did as well the first time I read this, with that last sentence, the sweet spot in defining risk. And there's a lot more comments to go over from Mark Shapiro today, so stay tuned till the end of the video. But ladies and gentlemen, this is encouraging, and it's exactly what you want to hear. Now, again, we know that that's the way the front office has spoken in the past. It's the way that Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro, to a degree, speak as well. They say whether it's about defining risk, whether it's about, being confident. However, this is the first time in the entire process where they came out and didn't just say, our goal is to, sign Vladdy, but of course it takes two to get a deal done. He simply said, my feeling is that we're going to sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I would have to assume, again, he's entering the last year of his contract. He would have to be extremely, extremely confident in order to extend Vladdy, in order to make this comment public to the media, because he knows the type of traction that this is going to get. It's blown up on Twitter within not just Jays land, Jays Nation, but of course every other team as well, whether that be the Red Sox, the Mets, every other team out there, Yankees, who are, pressing for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And we know yesterday in the interview, and some more translations have come out from that interview since my video last night, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. believes he'll be in the $700 million range if he puts up an MVP caliber season. And if I have a bad year, I see my floor at $500 million. And it was confirmed from Keegan Matheson that this was recorded 2 weeks ago. So it was before the new leaks came out from Ben Nicholson-Smith and Shai Davidi about the $450 to $500 million ask. It was before that. But at the same time, it was only 2 weeks ago that the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. situation came public and came to fruition. And this situation in itself, you can check out my video from last night if you're interested in it. It was very interesting in a nutshell anyways, because you're at the point now where, yes, he believes in this. $700 million range is absurd. And I think even if he puts up an MVP caliber season, a 950 OPS with a 6 WAR, I don't see a world where he gets $700 million. That's Juan Soto money. That's Shohei Ohtani money. And I just don't think a first baseman is, I don't think first baseman's ever going to get remotely that amount of money, right? I just don't think it's going to happen. And I specifically don't think it's going to happen for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Now, we have these comments, right? So that came out yesterday, and it's very interesting that Mark Shapiro spoke out since then, and we have some details on that as well, so stay tuned for that. But let's dive into another quote that came out, which is just as interesting, and this is specifically surrounding the leaked numbers. Mark Shapiro and some of the information that was leaked and reported last week around Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s contract negotiations. And for context, you can see the tweet there from Keegan Matheson at the bottom. The gap with Vladdy and the Jays isn't as straight and as simple as a flat $50 million. Deferrals, years, and escalators all factor in. This is going to keep hanging over them. And Mark Shapiro spoke out on that because, again, that's been a big talking point of the media, was how much was the actual gap. We know Shai Davidi came out and said it was $50 million. Joel Sherman, John Heyman, all these different reporters, Ken Rosenthal, everyone but even Jeff Passan said well over $500 million. And Mark Shapiro came out and said that's an oversimplification based upon only part of the information. So Keegan Matheson was right on the ball here back on March 12th when this initial information came out, and it was specifically surrounding the $50 million. Yeah, Keegan basically said it's going to be more than that and more complicated than that because of deferrals, years, escalators, all these different things. He was right on the money, and Mark Shapiro comes out and basically confirms that, saying it's an oversimplification based only on part of the information. So seems to me that there's more than $50 million that they're willing to that's is missing between what the front office wants to pay and what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. wants to pay. So it is interesting on that front. And let's not forget, at the start of spring training, when Vladdy came out and he said, I didn't want, especially for my teammates, to go through any distractions. I'm here today, I'm ready, and I want to win a lot of games, and I want to get to the playoffs. And obviously, he hasn't really followed that, speaking to the media a ton, all these different things, literally 2 weeks ago. And now the problem is, this is going to get sent back not only to the media, but it's getting now asked to Mark Shapiro. And in any interview, any media conference in general, that the front office has to speak, that John Schneider is speaking, there's going to be questions asked specifically to the front office, and less so John Schneider. As we know, Keegan said it. John Schneider is sometimes kind of the just the guy that the front office uses to throw in front of the camera, more so than most managers across the MLB. This is going to be a huge question in the MLB going forward. Will be Vladdy's future in Toronto. Let's dive into the full quote here. And this is a long one, and there's going to be more videos coming for you all because it was a fairly long, stretched out media, I guess it was an interview with Mark Shapiro, but these are the key points here. When it comes to Vlad's contractual situation, I guess my overarching feeling is one of optimism. I think we're going to sign him. I think we're going to extend him. The reason I feel that way is because we have such a clear alignment on the desired outcome, and he wants to play his whole career as a J, and we want him to end his career as a J. It's a pretty good place to start, but the challenge, again, has been finding the sweet spot of sharing risk, which I know we've all heard before. What defines that sweet spot? Contracts, different moments in time, that make more of a challenge, less of a challenge. And ultimately, sometimes free agency provides the clearest answer to that, which is not what you want to hear, because I know a lot of fans now are hoping that the Toronto Blue Jays extend Vladdy before free agency, which would have to be either during the season or over the next week. But the last sentence here is interesting. Could be before free agency, could be during free agency, but I'm optimistic we will sign him. That's how I feel. So this is extremely encouraging. And again, this whole situation is it's taken a weird turn. Everything has taken a strange turn with it, like with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He set his deadline for over a month ago now, which was March 18th. We thought he was going to extend. He ultimately didn't. And now more and more leaks keep coming out, all these different things, numbers come out. And you can see this here from Thomas Hall. This quote from Shapiro, particularly the opening sentence, gives the sort of feeling that Toronto and Vladdy's camp may be open to a dialogue. And you can see this here on why risk potentially waiting until free agency to extend with Guerrero. Shapiro said, I think it's between now and free agency. There are a bunch of different junctures in there, but you're ultimately trying to do in every one of those circumstances, understand that there's a risk on the club side, and we're giving up on dips in performance and all these different things. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do going forward. And again, from Thomas, even with everything that's transpired to date, all the interviews, all the leaks, there's always been an opportunity for cooler heads to prevail. It may require Vladdy testing free agency, but that shouldn't close the door to potential return. And that's where things get interesting now, because you're not only at a point where Mark Shapiro has kind of made it clear that they're going to try to extend him between now and free agency, but it's also at the juncture now where if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, Vladdy's had, again, like I mentioned before, two really good seasons, one very solid season. The rest have been, average to below average as it pertains to what you expect from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So if you're at that point now with the team, obviously the front office is going to try to extend him, but he's coming out, he's speaking to the media. He's kind of forced Mark Shapiro's hand now into speaking to the media himself. We're at the point where not only are you going to continue to have this dialogue throughout the entire year, you're going to continue to, the media, it's going to happen all year long. The media is going to continue to talk to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. They're going to continue to ask the front office, and every single time a home run is hit, every single time the Jays get swept in a series, the conversation is going to be, oh, is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. more likely to leave now? If they get swept in a series and then some article or some interview comes up from months ago, weeks ago, of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. saying he would entertain the Yankees, or months ago, an interview comes out that Vladimir Guerrero Jr., his offer, he wants $600 million now, even though they just got swept. Like, all these different things are going to happen throughout the year. So brace yourself for that, because it's going to be a wild, wild ride. One other final note here is an update to the Jays pitching plans. Boughton Francis starts today versus the Rays, and Yariel Rodriguez is throwing in a minor league game, targeting 75 pitches. We would all assume that's him ramping up in case Max Scherzer is not ready, who's throwing today, and the Jays hope gets in one of those games. So we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. A lot of new videos coming for you all. We're a week away from opening day. Things are really starting to pick up, and we're going to keep you up to date all season long. Thank you guys for watching. See you later. Cheers.